In the vibrant land of Nigeria, nestled in a village where the earth was as red as hibiscus flowers, lived a young girl named Adana. Her laughter was like the jingle of cowrie shells, and her heart was as pure as the water from the village stream. She lived a life full of warmth, wrapped in the love of her parents, a brave farmer and a wise potter. But one day, a sudden fierce illness swept through their home, like a harmattan wind that leaves everything bare. It took both her parents, leaving Adana alone, a small boat tossed on a vast, lonely ocean. The village gathered for the funeral, their faces etched with sorrow. The air was thick with grief and the scent of bitter leaf. Adana's aunts, uncles, and distant cousins came forward, their voices loud and full of promises. "Oh, poor child," one aunt clucked, patting Adana's head. "Don't you worry. You will come live with me. You will be like my own daughter." Another uncle, a wealthy trader, declared, "No, she will come with me. She will want for nothing. I will send her to the best school in the city." They argued amongst themselves, each one painting a picture of a wonderful future for her, their words like a comforting blanket. Adana, in her grief, clung to these promises like a lifeline. But as the days turned into weeks after the funeral, the promises evaporated like morning dew under the hot sun. The aunt who promised a daughter's love said her hut was too small. The uncle who promised schooling said his business was facing hard times. One by one, they made excuses, their eyes avoiding her pleading gaze. The comforting blanket of their words was snatched away, leaving her cold and alone. Adana was left in her parents' empty hut, a ghost of the happy home it once was. The once full yam barn was now empty. The once bright fire pit was cold ash. Hunger became a constant, unwelcome guest. She would roam the village, her stomach twisting into painful knots. The same people who had promised her the world now looked through her as if she were invisible. Some would toss her a shriveled piece of fruit, more out of pity than kindness, their gestures feeling sharper than a slap. She learned to survive. She would wake before the sun, gathering fallen firewood in the forest, her small hands becoming rough and calloused. She would forage for wild berries and edible roots, learning from the birds which ones were safe to eat. She would go to the stream not to fetch water in a fine clay pot, but to wash the tattered clothes she wore, her tears mingling with the flowing river. The laughter that once sounded like cowrie shells was gone, replaced by a quiet, resilient determination. Years passed. Adana grew not just in height, but in strength and spirit. Though the village had abandoned her, the earth had not. She learned the secrets of the soil from watching her father, and she began to cultivate a small patch of land behind her hut. She planted the few yam seedlings she managed to find, watering them with tireless care. Her small garden began to flourish, a testament to her unyielding spirit. One market day, as a severe drought gripped the region and crops failed everywhere, Adana harvested her yams. They were plump and healthy, a miracle in a time of scarcity. She carried her humble harvest to the market. The villagers, including the relatives who had abandoned her, looked on in disbelief. Their own barns were empty, their faces thin with worry. Among the crowd was an old wise woman known as Mama Eber. She was not a relative, but she had watched Adana struggle from afar, her heart aching for the girl. She had seen the quiet dignity with which Adana bore her suffering. Mama Eber approached Adana's stall. She didn't just buy a yam. She looked into Adana's eyes and saw the incredible strength within. Mama Eber, who had no children of her own, took Adana's hand. "Child," she said, her voice warm like the evening fire. "A tree that can grow on a barren rock is the strongest of all. You have a spirit that cannot be broken. Come, let my home be your home." This time the promise felt different. It wasn't loud or boastful. It was a quiet, steady truth. Adana went to live with Mama Eber. It wasn't a life of riches, but it was a life filled with love and respect. Mama Eber taught her more about farming, about the stars, and about the stories of their ancestors. Together, they turned their farm into the most prosperous in the village. Adana's laughter returned, richer and more beautiful than before, for it was the sound of a spirit that had weathered the greatest of storms and found its own sun. Her relatives, now facing hardship, would come to her, their heads bowed, asking for food. Adana, with a heart purified by suffering, never turned them away. She gave freely, but her forgiveness was a quiet lesson. She showed them that true wealth isn't in what you promise, but in what you do. Not in what you have, but in what you give. And so, the girl who was once abandoned became the cornerstone of her community, a living folktale whispered from one generation to the next, a story of resilience, forgiveness, and the enduring power of a single determined heart. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that feed the soul. Until next time, stay strong and be kind.